welcome to a very special episode of Rhythm and Wit. My name is David Steele, and tonight we are here at the Farmers Public Market in downtown Oklahoma City at the 12 by 12 Art Fundraiser. This is an annual show put together each year to raise money for the Oklahoma Visual Art Coalition. They invited us out here to do some interviews with some of the artists. This show is a unique show in that the artists that submit have to, the parameters are that they fit in a 12 by 12 square. So we're going to show off some of the art and talk to some of the artists that created some really amazing pieces, all to raise money for the programs and services provided by the Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition. So stay tuned for the interviews and follow them to learn more about their art and keep up. Special shout out to Liz Campbell for coming with me tonight and conducting the interviews. Thanks, Liz, and everybody enjoy the video.
Thanks for sitting down with me. Let's get started. Tell me your name and a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Michele Pierce. I'm a fine artist from Southwest Oklahoma down in Frederick. Most of what I specialize in is oil painting. I do a lot of graphic design as well, but the real bread and butter is I do large-scale narrative artworks. That's just about it.
Well, that sounds pretty impressive to me. We saw your art on the way up. It's very bright, very phenomenal. Tell me some of the inspiration for this small piece.
So a lot of inspiration of my pieces is interaction with day-to-day or things that are often forgotten or overlooked. And one of the little birds that I so often enjoy depicting that I feel gets overlooked quite a bit is the pigeon. And so I thought, tiny piece, tiny bird, give it a little bit of, give it its own little light.
Very cool. You said oil work is your medium.
Yeah.
How long have you been practicing in oils?
In oils for a few years now. I got my degree over at Cameron back in 2022 in graphic design, and I started oil painting maybe a couple years before graduating, so I want to say probably like the 2020 range. So from then on. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, it's a well-used 5 years. It was a well-used 5 years. Tell me about how you became interested in becoming an artist.
I've always kind of been interested in the arts. A lot of what inspires me to make work is narrating a story. So at the fundamental of it, I think of myself as a storyteller, and rather than words, what I prefer to use is visuals. It's much easier for communication. I feel like it communicates broader than just words do. And so that kind of inspires me to keep on making art, is to connect with people and build kind of a community around it.
Very cool. Speaking of community, are there any artists that are in your purview that you really enjoy following as well?
Yeah, there are a few artists. Actually, some of them are here today. Madeline Dillner is one of them that I believe I saw her piece down below. I've spoken with her a few times. She's got this phenomenal body of work with these lovely bright colors. She's an inspiration. And there are a few others, but she strikes me as one of the top ones.
Nice, that's amazing. Thanks for the shout out. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Are there any other forms of art that you practice? Are you a comedian or a singer?
I wish. What I have been drawn to recently is oil painting, but like I said, I do graphic design as a career, so really what I do for the day-to-day is branding, or like t-shirt illustrations, things like that. And then I also do a lot of drawing, a lot of watercolor work. It's just right now my focus is in oil.
Nice. Well-rounded. What would you say is the biggest challenge facing artists in sharing their work today?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think the biggest challenge with displaying work, no matter who you are, is just doing it, like getting over the hump, getting over the kind of like a critical self-lens of just, you gotta get out and do it. So a lot of what used to stop me from showing was just, is this good enough? Is this worth somebody's time to look at? And I think that the biggest struggle is to just get over your own self-critic and just do it. That's what I would say.
That's an amazing piece of advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Where can we find you online to see more of your work?
I am predominantly on Instagram, so you can find me at Harvard Siren Studios. That's where I post my bodies of work.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Michele. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you.
Awesome. That was great.
All right. Let's have a conversation.
Cool,
Thanks for
let's go.
joining us today. Tell me your name and what kind of artist you are.
My name is Clarence Long III, and I am a fine art nature photographer based out in Oklahoma City.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Tell us about your piece today.
Yeah, so the piece that I have today is titled Midnight Sun, and it is a golden yellow zinnia flower that I captured in Texas earlier this spring. And it's one of my absolute favorite pieces I've ever done. I'm actually matching the color today. It's just like a special occasion with that. It's one of my favorites because I love the amount of detail that's in it. And for me, I specialize in macro photography, and I make small things look really, really big. So the zinnia is probably the size of my palm, but I capture so much detail within it. And it's not just a single shot of the flower itself, it's like 100 shots stacked and stitched together to create a fully focused image.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's one of my absolute favorites.
Very cool. How long have you been practicing this type of style of photography?
I would say around 10 years. So I'm now 25. I'll say probably around 14, 15 was when I first started picking up the camera. And yeah, that's when it first started.
Very cool. Tell me about some of your early inspirations.
One of my earliest inspirations was my dad. So my dad originally taught me photography growing up. He taught me how to use the camera, taught me about how to love nature, how to capture the best with it. And yeah, he's always deeply inspired me to go out in nature and to just take photos. And also different social media pages as well, gaining different inspirations on that, just trying to be as creative as possible with it.
Very cool. When you think about inspiration, do you have any artists that come to mind as well?
Yes. One in particular, his name is Pete Burford, and he is a world-famous macro photographer based out in the UK. And he has done work for like National Geographic. He's done work for many different nature and photography organizations around the world. So he's amassed like millions and millions of followers online, environmental conservation, all of it. So his work is absolutely stunning.
Very cool. Sounds like he has some purpose behind his art as well.
Yeah.
Are there any other forms of art that you practice? Comedy, singing?
Creative writing.
Creative writing? Very cool.
Creative writing. So I've actually just launched a new website earlier this week. And for every photo that I create a story behind it, whether it be about the process or about like some type of fantasy story. For example, I have like some images where I can just combine different types of tales, different types of fantasies. So it'd be like, I could derive things from video games, anime, it can be like religion, mythology, history, science, all of it combined into like a nice fictional type of story about this process. I do that.
That's a really fun form. It's a way to take your art and take it to the next level with your creativity. That's very cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. Is there any challenges that you're currently facing as an artist right now?
Funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, money, yeah. Because it just, especially now that with the goals that we have for selling artwork on like a global level, not just sticking to just Oklahoma City or just for Oklahoma, definitely funding, especially whenever it comes to like marketing. I mean, that can be so much money. You just try to push the art globally with that. But over and over time, we're just learning how to develop a better strategy with that, and also getting more funding with that. But really, that's the biggest challenge. Now, I don't have any hiccups whenever it comes to me creating, because I love what I do. I'm deeply passionate about showcasing the world, my interpretation of it, right? Like showing how beautiful the world is through my eyes and through my camera. But really, just the biggest thing is just money, just funding, as with any other artist, because it takes money.
As with all things, it takes money. It takes money. That's why we're here at this beautiful OVAC fundraiser, raising money for the arts. So that's a great time. All right, Clarence, thanks for talking with me today. Tell me where people can find you online and see more of your incredible artwork.
Yeah, you can find me online. I'm on Instagram at Clarence Long Photo. And I also have a new website, clarencelongphoto.com. And on Facebook, the same, Clarence Long Photo. So thank you for that.
Amazing. Thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you, Liz.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us today. Tell me your name and what kind of art you make.
My name is Spivey. I make lots of different types of art, but the art that I have here today is ink and watercolor paper. It's kind of like geometric designs and stuff.
Very cool. What was your inspiration for your geometric piece?
My inspiration for the piece today, honestly, I do a lot of stream of consciousness work. I just kind of start making things and just allow whatever comes to come, and yeah.
Very cool. I like that. Do you work for long periods of time, or is a piece short and easy?
This piece took me about a week, but I kind of try to work on art every day. At the end of the day, spend like an hour or two every day working on art. So when I say it takes me a week, that's still only about like 5 to 10 hours.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have lives.
Yeah.
We have lives.
A lot of things going on.
Yeah, Uncanny Art House, right?
Yeah.
I bet that keeps you quite busy.
So I'm a co-owner member of Uncanny Art House. I'm the creative director of Uncanny Media, which is the creative services side of that business. And
Busy.
I could go on.
Busy.
Also involved in the Norman Music Festival, Norman Arts Council. Maybe going to be involved more with OVAC in the future. So yeah.
Very cool. Arts matter. So I appreciate that you're putting the work in.
Yes.
I will gladly take advantage and watch all of your beautiful art. Tell us about some of your early inspirations for becoming an artist.
Early inspirations? I'd say the very first thing was music for me. I got into like Nirvana, Allison, Soundgarden, like the whole grunge scene when I was younger, and I got a guitar, started joining bands. So I was really into music for the first area of my life. Then my grandpa actually let me borrow a video camera. I started making these kind of like abstract shorts and sketch comedy stuff with my friends. And then, cut to 30 years later, I'm still doing weird short videos with my friends. And I have my grandpa to thank for that, with the original VHS camcorder that he let me borrow.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, we've been asking other artists if they do things other than arts. It sounds like you do a little bit of everything. Is there an art form you just won't do?
I've never gotten that question before. I love it. And that I won't do. There's plenty that I don't know how. Like, I don't know the first thing about ceramics or like fiber arts, but I'm kind of interested in everything.
Yeah.
I even think like food is an art form. When you look at people like Grant Achatz and some of the like more modern, molecular gastronomy folks, like there's art can be found in lots of different mediums that people don't normally think of. I think. So yeah, I like it all really.
Yeah.
I can only do so much in one lifetime.
Just fill it full. Fill it full. What is something that you find to be challenging in art today?
Challenging in art?
In art, just in the art field.
The number one thing has got to be funding. I mean, and it goes back to, so obviously the funding issue, has a lot to do with government and like where social priorities are right now in our world. But also there's the issue of lots of different types of art not being recognized as like proper art. Even among granting organizations, you get a lot more grants for painting or photography, things like that. You don't see grants for musicians, for example, or filmmakers as much. So I would like to see a little bit more equity in the different genres of art.
That makes sense. What's some good advice do you have for artists growing up right now?
Like newer, younger artists?
Sure.
Because I guess no matter what age you get into it, the thing about art is that it's communication. You know, you're communicating something beyond words, and so it's got to be personal. It's got to matter to you. You can't just go out there and try to do something like somebody else. Like, don't be afraid to make it personal. Don't take other people's critique too much to heart. You definitely like listen to criticism, like especially among your peers, but don't let it slow you down, because also you have to have a regular practice. You get better with practice, like everything. There's the myth of people being born with natural talent.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have a gift of something, the way that you see things, or the way that you express yourself, but like unless you practice, that's not gonna matter. I mean, it's not gonna come out. You gotta give it a chance to grow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that with us. All right, Chase, tell us where we can see more of your art online.
Well, you can go to uncannyarthouse.com. We have some member pages there, and some of my art is there. I recently got a page on Saatchi art, but I don't know if that's ever going to amount to anything. You never really know anymore.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, I've got a lot of projects I'm working on. I'm actually doing a music video right now, so I kind of just like bounce around, and I've stopped doing as much of the like ink and paper drawing stuff, but I'll probably get back into it. I tend to do that stuff more during the winter, actually. So, yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing with us, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to meet you. Tell us your name and the type of art you make.
My name's Katie Graham, and I'm a fiber artist based in Midwest City.
Awesome. That's incredible. Tell us about your piece in the show today.
So my piece in the show is called Hecate's Seamstress, and it's a crazy quilt. It's my first attempt at a crazy quilt, and it has a little spider hanging out the side. It looks like a spider web, and it was a lot of fun to make. I had always wanted to make a crazy quilt, but I have a really hard time with math and measuring things properly, so I kind of winged it, and I did it as an applique instead of quilting traditionally, and it was a lot of fun. I want to do one again, but I'm going to take some time, because it was nerve-wracking to get it done in time. It was much more labor-intensive than I thought it was going to be.
That's incredible. Well, it's fun to try and stretch your wings and make new things, and this is a perfect opportunity for that. How long have you been practicing with fiber arts?
I used to do a lot of multimedia, and then I would like incorporate some fiber art into it, but I transitioned to doing fiber art full-time, only fiber art, over the last 2 years.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your early inspiration to become an artist?
Oh gosh. I really feel like I've been artistic since I was a child, as many artists are, but my art helped me escape the childhood that I had. It wasn't the best, unfortunately, but art was one of those things that I could always have access to. It didn't cost any money to go outside and draw with a stick and dirt. Like, I could even do it then. And it was definitely an escape for me, and I think it still is, but in a lot of different ways.
It's a good thing that you can express yourself through your art in that way. It's a great way to stretch and be free. When you think about art inspiration, do you have any artists that come to mind?
Yes. Amy Zerner. She is my favorite fiber artist. She's amazing. She does these huge, and they're like giant tapestries, like wall tapestries. And she takes I guess she just goes out and finds all of these different materials and kind of does like a collage, but with fabric.
Yeah.
And she uses them in tarot readings with her husband, Monty. And it is some of the most beautiful, inspiring pieces I have ever seen in my life. I love her work.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing. I know that you tend to do artwork on a sort of smaller scale because it's hand sewn.
Yes.
Did you like this challenge, or are you going to challenge yourself to some bigger pieces in the future?
I have been challenging myself recently to go a little bit bigger. I really want to expand the work that I do. And I have been pushing myself, like with the Arts Festival, that was the largest piece I had ever done, was the story of Light and Day. This piece, it's 8 by 8 inches, so it's fairly big compared to some of my other pieces. And it was a challenge to have to learn how to crazy quilt. I do really want to try to make a tapestry for the Arts Festival next year. I really want to try. I hope I can execute it properly. But the plan is a big piece, or like a big sculptural piece of some kind that's all fiber.
So you said you're primarily a fiber artist now full time. Are there any other art expressions that you like to use? Do you do comedy or any kind of performance arts?
Not like professionally, but my friends and I, we love a good acting out game, charades. We do love to act and be crazy. In my spare time. But other than that, I think the only other kind of art that is a hobby right now is maybe doing miniatures, like working on some miniature pieces for the stuffed frogs that I've been making.
Right.
That has been a lot of fun.
I have been loving the frogs.
Thank you.
They are so fun.
Thank you
They
so
are
much.
so fun. We've been asking our guests today what they find to be challenging in art today.
Well, as a fiber artist specifically, I think something I've found challenging is that my art doesn't seem to be taken as seriously as other art because it's associated with women.
And Granny, my grandma can make that.
Yeah, or like I hear all the time, I could make that. And I'm always like, please do. I hope you do. I hope
I run an artist closet with all the supplies.
Yes.
Please come make this art.
Yes. So I think specifically for a fiber artist, that is the struggle I'm seeing, and I know some of my other friends who do fiber art, is that it's not taken as seriously as a fine art. And I'm hoping, through going through the Emerging Artist Program, breaking those boundaries, winning Emerging Artist, maybe it'll help give a platform for more fiber artists to be seen on the same playing field as fine art. In Oklahoma, at least.
Yeah, it's ambitious and worth it.
Yes.
So worthy purpose. Thank you so much for sharing your art with us today. Tell us where we can find more of you online.
Wonderful. You can find me at threadedfables.katie.com. That's my website. And you can find me at Threaded Fables on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
man, about your art today.
Yeah, sure. My name's Austin Artus. I'm a local artist here in Oklahoma City, born and raised. And my piece today is titled Perfect Match. It's kind of a mixture of collage and paint marker that I've got on a little piece of wood paneling. Around the edges, I put some old vintage Max boxes, so that's kind of there's a little bit of pun with the title. I was originally going to go with something like The Girl From, kind of like The Girl From Ipanema, but I decided against it at the last minute. I was really having some serious artist block this year trying to get a piece for the 12x12 together. It wasn't kind of like right until the deadline that I was really, just forcing myself to make it happen.
I've never heard that story. Wait till the deadline.
Yeah, but I think it turned out pretty well. The piece already has a bid on it, so I'm pretty happy.
Nice.
That
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So as long as the piece sells,
That's a success.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you used mixed media for your piece today. Do you typically do mixed media, or do you find yourself in any particular kind of art?
Yeah, I think my preferred medium, especially when I'm doing events like this, kind of more prestigious events than just kind of like goofing around art. It tends to be more mixed media. I like to do kind of like that kind of line work style, and then have some like collage element that goes with it. It'll usually be like the focal point, and then the line work will kind of draw your attention to it. So that's kind of generally my approach when I'm making art. I have a really big installation piece actually that I just exhibited at the Homeless Alliance. They had a big graduation ceremony for some of the people who graduated there. And it's a giant door, a regular door in a door frame that just kind of stands by itself. And I don't know if that counts as mixed media. It's like sculptural, carpentry, and then also paint marker all mixed into one.
Very cool.
So I'm pretty proud of getting a chance to exhibit that. I made that back in 2023, and I only just this year got a chance to get it out in public. It was a very small event, but I'm hoping to exhibit it some other places too, because I'm really proud of that one as well.
Very cool. I like that. That's cool to hear. How long have you been making art?
I mean, probably my whole life. My mother is kind of a local artist within the scene here. She's been taking me to art shows since I was a little kid. I've been going here probably more often than I've been to church. And then my mother, she was one of the original artists behind the Girly Show, which is just coming back this year. For anyone who doesn't know, that ran for 10 years, an all-female art show. But that's coming back, and I'm excited to get to see it because it would have this adults night that ran, throughout my entire childhood. And then when I turned 18, they stopped doing the show, so I couldn't go to the adults night. So I'll finally be old enough to see what goes on.
Oh, nice. That's fun. That's pretty cool. You've been in it forever. It's pretty cool to grow up around such beautiful art like this.
I've been very privileged as an artist. It's kind of hard to escape from my mother's shadow in a way because, she's this very established artist within the scene. She's had a documentary about her. She did this whole nationwide art project. And whenever I make art, I always feel like, I've got a big expectation to kind of follow in her shoes. Because one, I love her a whole bunch, and I'm really inspired by her, and I feel like she's been kind of pushing me along to pursue art as well. And two, because she makes these really ambitious projects, and my stuff tends to be a little smaller in scale and scope.
She's got a catalog of living in her art.
I'm just getting started. I hope I get an opportunity to do something on the scale of some of the larger projects that she's worked on, because she's worked with an artist in every state that ratified the amendment that gave women the right to vote just for one project. They're big shoes to fill. But I hope that one day I can at least kind of size up to them.
That's cool. I'll be watching. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you.
Tell us about some of your artist inspirations.
I really love Keith Haring. I'm a big fan of his stuff. I really love his line work and just kind of like the joy and mirth that comes from his pieces. When I was in high school and I was kind of just starting to kind of pick up art a little more seriously, because all my life I kind of felt like art was something that I did kind of because it was something that was expected of me. My mother was an artist. I attended art schools, but I didn't really feel like I would call myself an artist. But yeah, sorry, what was the question?
What was the question?
It's a little loud in here, so it's a bit hard to focus.
Artist inspirations.
Oh, inspirations, yes. So Keith Haring, my mother, obviously. I really love not to be too pretentious, but I think Picasso's works are interesting because I like, he does these portraits that are that kind of aren't concerned with perspective, adhering to perspective as much as trying to find interesting shapes that represent the human form. And I find myself doing that a lot with my abstract line work pieces, where I'll draw like a part of a face from one perspective and then another part from another perspective, and then it'll just kind of trail off, and there'll be like another face that connects directly into that. A very abstract sort of style that I've kind of come to create.
Very cool. Well, Austin, thanks for sharing with us today. Tell us where we can find more of your art online.
Well, I don't have a whole lot of presence online. I mostly just make art because I enjoy it, but I'd love to work on a larger piece. If there's anyone in the neighborhood who wants to collaborate, I'm a big fan of collabing. We can pass a piece back and forth, or even just like a notebook. If you want to do some coalition building or community art, I also, I'm working at the Homeless Alliance right now. I'm trying to expand their art program that they have there. So if you want to do some community engagement with the homeless and art, you can hit me up on Instagram, or just, send a smoke signal out. Talk to my mother, maybe. I don't know.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for sitting down with us.
It's a pleasure.
Woo. Oh, did you make that fabric piece?
I did, yes. I got my little guy right here.
I saw that earlier online. All right, well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Tell us your name and the art you make.
Absolutely. So my name is Kristina Browning. I'm an engineer by profession, and so is by passion. The art piece I brought in today is called the Aperiodic Hat Trick.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What is your art medium?
I typically do fiber and textile. So the art piece that I brought in is based on the aperiodic monotile discovered in 2023. It is the first solitary polykite tile that covers a plane irregularly or aperiodically, purely by its own geometry. So it's completely hand-pieced and hand-sewn using an English paper piecing technique.
Very cool. Very cool. How long have you been using this medium?
Honestly, 2020 was how it started. A lot of people picked up crafts in 2020, and that was included me.
Nice. Do you do and explore any other art mediums?
I have before in the past. I've done ceramics a bit in middle school and high school, a bit of painting here and there using acrylics, but typically anything in the 3D medium where my hands can physically touch the piece.
That's very cool. Very tactile.
Very tactile, absolutely.
I like that. I like that. Have you thought about branching out into other types of art mediums, like standing on stage?
So, actually a little bit. I tried to do theater in middle school. I'm crap for acting, I'll tell you that much, but public speaking isn't my forte.
Very cool. Public speaking is a lot of fun. We have been asking all of our artists about their artist inspiration. Do you have any artists you could share with us?
Artists in particular, I'm really inspired by the local art community here in Oklahoma. Some of my friends that I've been privileged to make and have acquaintance with, including Whitney Bates and Katie Graham.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing. They make incredible art. What's something that you find challenging in the art industry today?
Honestly, breaking into the art industry. My professional and educational background is in engineering and STEM, so really branching out into art with no formal education or anything along that has been very tough. The Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition has been very helpful in providing resources and education to break into that.
Well, thanks for that, OVAC. We appreciate you sharing that art with us. Where can we find you online?
So I am on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube with the handle KTina Sews.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Tell me your name and your art you put in the show today.
Yeah, so my name is Whitney, Batres, and the piece that I have in the show today is called Practicing Maths.
Very cool. What medium are you using?
So currently I am painting primarily with gouache. It's a very close cousin to watercolor, very similar, but it's not a very common material, so sometimes it's a little fun to see how people like to pronounce it.
I like gouache. It's very opaque.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So, and it has this really really unique, which I find interesting.
Very cool. How long have you been using gouache?
I've been using it for about 10 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're a professional.
I try.
All right. I like to hear that. What else do you dabble in?
So this year, I've recently gotten into collage work. So I was trying to find a use for a lot of old gouache studies that were just sitting in my office, and decided that why not give them a new life by cutting them up and piecing them together. So I've been working with that, and then also incorporating other materials like hand-dyed paper, and I also do a lot of sewing on the side as a hobby, so trying to include some of those materials as well.
Very cool. So you do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I try. It's, jack of all trades, master of maybe one or two, but yeah.
There you go. That's very cool. Tell me, after you dabble in all these arts, are there anywhere you're like, no, I will never?
Yeah, so in school, I took a sculpture class, and it was a lot of welding, which I thought, made me very badass that I could weld, and in a skirt, no less. But it was not for me. My anxiety could not handle that amount of open flame in a studio.
It's a little hot.
Yeah, it was not good.
It's a little hot. Sculpture. Interesting. Very cool. So do you have an art degree?
I do, yeah. So I have a BFA in studio art from the University of Texas at Austin.
Awesome. Art's in the blood.
Yeah.
What is something that you find challenging about the art community today?
I think it's really difficult as an artist that's selling your work to try and find a happy balance between making your art accessible while also finding a good price point for what works. I think, at least as for me, I really like giving away art. I really like doing trades, but at the end of the day, I still have bills to pay and supplies I need to purchase. And so I think for a lot of artists, finding ways that you can kind of get a middle ground in that way is really challenging, and a lot of it just comes from experience and learning opportunities.
Sounds about right. Funding. That's what we heard today.
Exactly.
Funding. Fund OVAC, friends.
Exactly.
Fund OVAC. Tell me about some of your artist inspirations.
Yeah, so my biggest art inspiration is the German design school Bauhaus. They had a weaving school where a lot of the women artists kind of got funneled into, because at the time that was considered the only appropriate women's work for them to get in. So, but there's some phenomenal artists that were working in that school. Some of them are Gunther Stolzel, Ani Albers, and Odie Berger. And then a painter that I really love is Agnes Martin. She was active during the Southwest Taos collective in the early 20th century, mid 20th century. So I love the mid-century abstract movement a lot.
Lots of inspiration there. Lots of inspiration there. All right, tell us where we can find you online.
Yeah, so I'm primarily on Instagram at Whitbat, WHITBAT. And then I also have a Substack newsletter that I try to update monthly, but that doesn't always happen. And I am found there with my name, Whitney Batres.
Amazing. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Could you tell us your name and about your art today?
Yeah, my name is Allison Stacey. My piece is called Oklahoma Red. It is a rabbit using snow-dyed dirt, canvas, and charcoal on the background of the canvas.
Very cool. So you're using natural ingredients?
Yes, yeah. I love being able to connect with the nature, connect with the land, work with that, and see what it was able to do for me.
Awesome. Have you been using that as your main medium for a while?
Not my main medium. I go back and forth between painting and printmaking, but I do love to be able to use that in the background of my canvases and be able to use dirt in the paintings and everything.
How long have you been making art?
I've been making my art my entire life. I started off as a kid going to the Firehouse Art Center in Norman, and then I graduated from OU with an art degree back in 2021.
That is a very long time to be making art in Norman. What up, Norman?
Shout out.
Tell us about some of your early inspirations to make art.
I feel like a lot of my early inspirations inspiration has just been about like documentation about what's going on in my life. I used to start off with a lot of still lives, just like using objects around in my house and whatnot and things that I was using. And that's just kind of moved into documenting my emotions and then like journeys through life and then things like self-discovery.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are there any artists or creators that come to mind when you think about inspiration?
Oh my gosh. There's an entire list and I'm horrible with names. The most recent one I've been looking at has been Annalise. She's an printmaker based out in Austin, Texas, but I can't remember her last name, but she's a Ukrainian artist. And then there's another German artist, Alexandria, and I'm also blanking on her last name, but she uses a lot of like painterly impressions in her screen printing, and I took a lot of inspiration from her.
Awesome. Painterly inspirations. I like that phrase. That's a very good phrase. Are there any other forms of art that you practice?
Yeah, so I do a lot of painting in both acrylic and oil painting, and then a lot of printmaking. So I really love relief printmaking for woodblock prints and then linoleum.
Tedious carving all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes, but it's a fun process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always worth it in the end, right?
Yes.
Have you ever done any kind of performance arts?
Never. I've not done any performance art. I'm mostly just stuck into like the gallery setting of showing everything. I'm trying to think. I did like an installation piece in college, but it wasn't like in the performance area. But that was my first time like kind of moving away from like the non-traditional 2D elements.
Awesome. What do you think is a big challenge in the art industry today?
I feel like just getting your name out there. Whenever you're first starting, it can be so hard to like know who to talk to and start making those connections and getting involved. But I think once you're able to be ingrained in the community, it's so worth it. There's so many like beautiful and wonderful people out here. But I think just getting your foot in the door can take like a little bit of like just mostly a mental blockade, not necessarily the people, just getting your head out of it.
That makes a lot of sense. That's good advice. Get your head out of it.
Yes.
All right, well, tell us where we can find you online.
Yeah, so my Instagram is ASTACArt. That's ASTAC.art. And then you can also search that on Facebook as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yes,
Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.